We ready? All right. So, good afternoon. It's good to see everyone. I appreciate everybody coming here today. We are going to talk about aligning technology and operations to accelerate value creation. And you know, we have a really good experts here about different industries. And what we want to do is have an exchange of a good conversation on how technology optimizing the operating model and changing the way of working, it is really in an integrated fashion, is changing the way that travel, transportation, hospitality is going to work in the future. So what I would like to do here first is to do a quick round of introductions. I have the pleasure to know all of them for many, many years. They have been my clients, former clients for the last at least 10 years and plus. So it is a pleasure to share the stage with them. So I would like to introduce David Orellana first. David?
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation, Carlos. I am currently the CIO or Global CIO for Solistica, part of FEMSA Group. We are having a third-party logistics working in different countries in the Americas, cross-border US, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil, and more than 20 years experience in it as well on the aviation industry. I had the opportunity to meet Carlos in Mexican Airlines a long time ago, so very, very happy to be in this panel with very talented people.
Christy? Hi, I'm Christy Thomas. I work for BNSF Railway. A little bit about what we do. We're one of the leading freight companies in North America, operate over 32,000 route miles in 28 states and 3 Canadian provinces. So, and we basically move your world. I have the responsibility of managing all our transportation and service design portfolio, and I'm happy to be here.
Afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. Pierre Lanthier. I look after business transformation at Toronto Airport. So I'm the one responsible for all your delays and your travels. Been with aviation much longer than I care to tell you about, but looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you. Sid?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sid. I'm the cluster head from WIPRO for engineering, construction, real estate, airports, and utilities portfolio. As Pierre said, he's responsible for the delays. We are the ones who's helping him how to make sure not to get delays for you guys. So coming up with creative solutions, transformative ideas, and changing the passenger experience overall for the airports.
Thanks, Ed. So as I was saying before, when we think about reimaging the industry and how the industry is working together, part of my responsibility in Avasant is looking at travel, transportation, hospitality, logistics, retail, and CPG in a way that when you think about all this cluster of industries, they are interconnected somehow. The freight rails are carrying all the goods, all the things for all the other companies. They work with trucking companies, with ports, with retailers, et cetera, logistics, take care of the warehousing, moving things as well. And then the airports are different hubs. So it all works together in some capacity. Right? So when we think about how technology is disrupting the industry, we're looking at now not only at how each of the different segments are implementing new technologies and applying more optimized operating models, but how things are beginning to work in a more integrated fashion now with accelerating technologies, with technology that are accelerating that value creation. It's no longer looking at what elements are measuring from the technical perspective in terms of widgets or just technical KPIs, but what the really business wants and how do we drive and accelerate that value creation to the business. And I think that knowing what each of them are doing in their companies, they're just beginning to drive it, just driving that kind of value creation. So how do we then come up with more integrated approaches that allows us to really accelerate that value to the business in a way that enables the entire value chain to grow faster, more efficiently, focusing on the customer experience, reducing costs, and coming up with different revenue streams. I think that when we look into some of these things, it's like how do we not only optimize and save money, but how do we come up with with different revenue streams. The use of technologies, again, varies across all the different industries, and it's important to have a technology partner to be part of this conversation because they're also transforming. And you know, some of you here as well are just going through internal transformation on how you serve your customers. So it is a good way to really discuss how do we basically work together and integrate these technologies to be able to accelerate value creation. So I wanna start by asking kind of the question that everybody asks, which is, you know, what is the impact of Gen AI in each of your organizations, but not only what is it doing, but you know, what is the underlying strategy that is just really driving the implementation of Gen AI and other disruptive technologies to accelerate value creation. So that's, you know, I want to start with that, and then I want to start talking more about how things will work in a more integrated fashion.
Absolutely. In logistics, you see the material from Material Handling Institute providing this year what are the trends. I found a few of them, more than 20 trends. So in technology, and 2 of them, Gen AI, but most of them, data and basic stuff, even warehouse management systems in there. So how you can really address all these technologies needs to be with very good alignment with the business. Digital journey needs to have a collaboration with the different parts. So it's a tremendous risk, and we saw that last past years talking about digital transformation. Everybody trying to do digital transformation, and I remember a lot of vendors or parties ask me, what are your digital agenda? What are you doing with virtualization? What are you doing with machine learning? That's the wrong question. How these technologies will affect your business, and that is the real question to work. So the key strategies is the wrong answer about how Gen AI will affect. So what is your business and how that will be disrupted to do more autonomous decision and data-driven decisions? I think that's the first part of the answer.
So the rail is a very asset-intensive industry. We have physical assets, we have rolling stock assets, and we have people assets that move that freight, and BNSF maintains all of that themselves. So we use a lot of different models just to look at, okay, you know, when should we repair the track? We have a lot of models that look at images and say, oh, you've got a cracked wheel, you need to stop this train, or it's safe enough to get to the next location. I think, so we've been doing that for several years. I think where we're at now with this latest disruption of technology is, how can we take that to the next level so that we do get operating efficiencies, better integration with our partners, and kind of speed to market. So we're doing things like we have a base plan. Everyone knows we've got a train schedule. We know how we're going to build that, when the crew's going to get on, what inspections need to be done, and what time it needs to get to destination. And what we're finding is we can take those models, we can add Gen AI and have better simulation where we're taking in the active events of what's going on in the day, because it changes all the time. We have a physical track. I can't move over another lane to get out of someone's way. I can't go up or down in the air like an airplane. So all those things that impact our plan each day and how we move through the supply chain, it's very important that we know it and we can react to it and we can play it forward to adjust, and then end game as our customers get an accurate ETA of when we're going to get there. So those are just a few of the things that I think is helping the supply chain.
Yeah. Right. Pierre?
I guess in the previous panel they talked about it being a journey, right? So it's not something that we're just going to drop in and walk away from. We've really focused on optimization using ML and some of the other traditional methods. But Gen AI really gives us an ability to go that next level, as you were saying, around how can I predict and react to things as they happen in the operation. So if you look at our traditional model, we look at a schedule that the airlines give us, we optimize that for the day of, and then put that into works. And it never, ever plays out exactly as we planned, right? There's never a day like that. So how can AI now take that to the next level and help the operators work out in real time what that plan should be. We talked about the other day that the operators now don't have the level of experience that we used to have either, through COVID, attrition, and everything else. So we need to augment that skill using AI capabilities. So that's where we're kind of focused on that side. There's other areas that we're looking at too around customer service and so on.
Right. And Sid, now you hearing the panelists sharing kind of what they're doing, but also important to hear what you're seeing from as a technology provider in the industry. What are you seeing that it is driving a lot of change? What technologies are you seeing? And then I want to switch a little bit into talking about what's the strategy underneath that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Large language models overall, it's still in a very nascent stage. A lot of people are still learning. But here's where we foresee areas where it can really change. And I'm going to first start with just the automated customer service. It can actually tell you what the statuses of your flights are. It's easier to ingest that data and then come up with Gen AI to be very prescriptive to you and very personalized to you. So one is that. Then you are moving towards the airport. What I see from the airport's perspective is an optimized security screening based on how people behave, the behavioral patterns, because the data is getting collected so much at all the airports, ultimately from cameras and everywhere, the optimized screening process will come in the fray. Now, how long does it take? That's still to be seen, but overall where it will happen is that you do not have to go through so many channels to just get to your gate. It'll be a very automated system just based on Gen AI data. Right. Once you're done with security, the third place where you'll see is a lot of international passengers not all passengers would know languages that are local to a particular country. It can do a real-time language translation, which is a big change that will come in, including if I add augmented reality to that, if there are digital signages that are there, through augmented reality, you can actually change that, how and what language you really want to see that. Right. Number 3. Fourth is it will give me a very personalized retail experience for that particular airport. They know what I'm interested in because I shop a lot at, suppose, Louis Vuitton. I shop a lot at other retail or concessionaires. Based on the data they're gathering, not just at the airports, but overall my buying habits, it might just tell me, hey, by the way, there is a 50% discount at particular store. It'll give a very personalized retail experience. The last point that I would say is the overall data based on the people that are there at the airport. It can actually optimize the data real time and tell you how you need to move the people or where do you need to move the people. Right. Last is sustainability. I think, again, these are just few of them, but Gen AI overall from the data that it'll gather, it'll change the way the entire passenger experience would be for the airports.
But what we're seeing also is that there, in each of the industries, there are different models. There's some level of uniqueness. There's quite a bit of uniqueness, actually, for example, in freight rail, than what you see in logistics, and then very different in airports, what you see in airlines, what you see in cruise lines. So a question for all of you is, what collaborative approaches can you think of as we look at the integrating value chain across all of you? What innovative approaches can promote that type of integration that can really allow more, to be able to get more out of that strategy, out of that technology? Because you mentioned to me once before that you're doing a project with JB Hunt, you're doing projects with FedEx, the airports are working with airlines, then you're working with everybody, and you kind of, work with everybody as well. So I'm looking at the overall value chain, and then, what approaches do you think that would work to integrate that?
Yeah, I definitely think we're going to move from the old API, EDI type transactions of sharing messages, which the data may be good or not, right, to potentially leveraging and sharing each other's models, which could be in some marketplace platform that's secure that you can subscribe to or not. But definitely see moving forward that we're not going to be able to serve that end customer or be competitive without better stitching, whether it be travel and a customer from I leave my house all the way to I get to destination, or in the supply chain, right? I shouldn't have to worry about where my package is. Is it on a barge? Is it on a train? Where is it? So I think we're going to move to a different way of integrating with those models.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the logistic, definitely different entities. We normally used to work in a silo. If I have a solution for a customer in the third-party logistics, probably have a multimodal with the rail, or I have an airplane. But my business that is more warehouse with the local distribution and for the cities, then again, it's a silo. So we need to collaborate better to have a more holistic view. So we were doing some, what we call the holistic delivery strategy, that we engage with the customer and say, I will send you and I give you visibility of my third party that is my transport that is outsourced as well, that I need to know where is the location of that truck, and I give you the estimate time to arrival to your warehouse. Because once they arrive, the product in your factory needs to be ready. Well, otherwise we'll arrive the truck and we're just sitting there until the products are ready. Right. So the entire productivity and collaboration needs to, yes, integration and all the platforms that we know are available, the technology is there, but really to have taking advantage of the RPAs and taking advantage of other kind of ways to start saying, I don't care if it's API or not, I just need to be the product ready. How we can facilitate the conversation. And it's then helping the collaboration, but also the organization needs to be ready to react. Right. If the truck is not ready, how I can react. So that's kind of the things that needs to be done.
Right. Pierre?
I think traditionally we've, at least in our industry, we've been very transactional, right? Every piece of the process is a separate transaction. And I think we've got to take it back to what does our customer want? What do they expect? And it's not about executing little bits and pieces along the way in the travel journey or in the freight journey, cargo, whatever. It's really about putting something together on their behalf based on what they're looking for, and doing that behind the scenes, doing that seamlessly, so that they don't have to do all the hunting and all the, okay, now I got to find a car park, and I got to find the wheelchair for grandma, and I got to find, all this other stuff. It's all transactional. So I think this technology now is going to allow us to bring all this together and create that value chain for the customer. Now, what does that give to the other stakeholders within those processes is you can reverse that data back to them, right? So before it was always them consuming. Now, if you have that chain, you can give it back to them, and that's where that value chain starts to get created.
Right. Now, Sid, when you are working with your customers and hearing what the panelists are saying in terms of the different models and how they can potentially be integrated, when you go out there and talk to your customers and say, well, this is what I can do for you. These are the models that I can offer you. These are the partnerships that I can have to offer you, these different models that you can leverage, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So Christy doesn't have to say well, there is nothing out there that is just going to serve me, so I'm just going to have to create my own models. So how are you handling that can benefit you as a technology provider, a good partner with your clients?
So I'll answer this in two parts. I think two companies are at the forefront right now of stitching end-to-end for a passenger, or Apple and Google. The reason is they have hardware, software, all applications are feeding or getting the data from them, and they are all integrated. So now, how do they come up with models? Obviously, we are in some way in discussions, but from our perspective right now, because there are so many source systems, the idea is first to get that integrated and bring to one point. Then we start making a little bit more sense of what data and how do we want to go about it. Right. But it's it's still, I know when we started talking about it, there were discussion, oh, we are still bits and pieces, we are getting data from APIs, gathering the data. I think we're still there. We are still away from getting data at one place and then start making more sense on how to utilize that data.
Right.
It's still a challenge.
So looking at the models, looking at Gen AI and other technologies, but then when you are talking to your business customers, when you're talking to your business, with the business, and then what is really driving the technology to your operating model from the business perspective, and supposed to answer the questions like, what is Gen AI, what is this disruptive technology going to do for me, as opposed to like, this is what I'm driving from the business, and let's just find a way to accelerate that value creation. What I wanted to point here is, when we look into value creation, is just really coming from the business out, looking at what can accelerate that value creation, as opposed to like, tell me what is out there and see if it works and we can measure it, because the problem is, things get implemented randomly, not at a scale, not very measurable, so they all become projects, which is viable for the vendors. It is, and then at the end of the day, after 8 or 10 months, it's like, well, yeah, it worked, but we never scaled. Scalability is a key issue here. So how are you working with the business to be able to really drive that digital business strategy into how you bring this to accelerate that value creation, as opposed to that, well, I'm going to go to a conference and find out, what use cases are out there?
Well, when I start, if we're talking about collaboration outside, first you need to resolve the collaboration inside. So if you don't have the model to really leverage the scalability and reusability and all the things that we learn in technology for a while, then you are behind, and then you could have the IT department as an order taker, just to create the reality. And one of the things that we share as a travel and transportation is, we shared yesterday, we're very oriented for the operation. So the operation dictates. We have a massive things, and we have a bad weather, or we have a tremendous volumes, and we need to resolve it. So the first requirement for operation for the business customers, internal customers, is I need right now a solution. I have a high availability, I need more speed, the system is slow, I have a technical debt, I have all the common basic foundational stuff. So the roles need to evolve for IT and the organization and the business model to have more collaboration, and from the leadership perspective to see really what is the problem. Can we use and leverage technology to make more efficiency, and the way to react to the alerts, to react to the disruption that you have in the operation, and that is a conversation that needs to happen. But if you don't resolve the collaboration, internal collaboration, you will keep doing projects without value, real value in the organization. I think that's one of my takeaways on this.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to start with the business problem and what are you trying to solve and what are the KPIs. I do fear that we're kind of in a mode right now where we want to throw Gen AI at everything, and potentially Gen AI in the solution, or maybe it could solve it and it'll take us a little bit longer and be more costly. So really getting to the root of what value is going to come of this and how do we iterate, along with the 24/7 operations, all while we modernize and get off mainframes and get out of our data centers. So I think that's what's going to make it hard and challenging for us to scale.
Mm-hmm. Good, Pierre?
Yeah, we're in an enviable position where we have a driver of increasing from 50 million passengers a year to 65 million passengers in 10 years. That dictates new terminals. We're going to have all kinds of temporary terminals as we transition and build. And we're really engaged in trying to find ways of how can we accommodate all that shift in movement with technology, but also how can we create an even more efficient operation once we do hit the 65 million. And the next level of challenge that just came down through this process is the design build right now is for 65. Can we eke out another 5 million through technology, through innovation, through different ways of doing things while still providing the level of service and customer satisfaction at the same time? So it's kind of like a forced value creation discussion with the business. You don't have a choice in this. And the second part I would put to that is, and I can't stress this enough, is the skill levels of our operators. So we have an integrated operations center. We have people there that monitor the operation, take actions depending on what's happening. They have 15 screens they're monitoring on a minute-by-minute basis all the time. I don't know how they do it, quite frankly, and I don't think they do it. They just react by instinct. Yeah. So those are the kind of things I think that we can bring from a value proposal perspective and then solve through technology implementations. But again, having that big growth impetus on us, we are not going to have a choice. So they're ready, they're having those kind of discussions now.
Yeah.
Right. Sid, what's your perspective on that?
So operations, Pierre responded. Value creation from a business perspective, I would say, how do we, from a business perspective, it's always, can we generate more revenue so that that revenue can be then in turn put back into the airports for better operations and that. Revenue at airports is divided into mostly two parts, which is your aero revenue and then non-aero revenue. Aero revenue is mostly generated when the airlines are using your gates. That's when you generate and plus a lot more other parameters. Non-aero revenue is something which the technology like Gen AI and others can change and increase on. We talked about when do you shop, and that's when non-aero revenue is generated. When do you shop? When you have a very stress-free environment when you're traveling. You will never shop in a stress because you need to run to the gate and say, oh, I don't have time. So with technology, you can make the overall travel and passenger experience as stress-free as possible, integrating all the systems so that now the Gen AI itself on your phone might say, oh, by the way, you have time, 30 minutes, these are the things that you like, would you like to go ahead and shop? That is where you generate value through revenue. Right. And this is exactly what is happening right now. Slowly and steadily, everybody will move towards that.
Right. So, looking into what is expected from technology, from Gen AI and other disruptive technologies from the business to accelerate value creation, but then obviously you will have to be making some adjustments in the operating model and the organizational structure to support that model, which in these industries, we have a really interesting imbalance of some legacy skills, people retiring, especially after COVID. There is a lot of skills that are still missing. So when we're looking at these rapid changes, what do you think, which ones are the critical challenges, but most importantly, and from the workforce perspective, what is the biggest impact and adjustments that you're having to make in order to be able to rapidly create this alignment?
There's a big one, because obviously we have a lot of legacies. Solistica was coming from a lot of M&A acquisitions. So we have a different, diverse skill set. So if you want to really speed up, you need to. We were playing with the dual transformation, bimodal transformation or whatever. But definitely, again, it's first of all to collaborate. First of all, make a space. You need to make a space and try to get out of the basic stuff and put a team to really dedicate and try to do initiatives to accelerate. Select the good partners. Select a good, what do you have around that really accelerate and get in some lessons learned. Quickly, we have to decide quickly if we have to build versus buy approach, because it was not necessarily something off the shelf to replicate. So we took the decision in Solistica and we created our platform, digital platform, getting the key resources that were more kind of the hunger to learn and really getting the soft skills to ready in terms of adapting new technologies. And we made a team to really expedite. That was the strategy to try to select kind of getting a team, a SWAT team, to try to get and migrate from the project management perspective to product management and select the products, collaborating with the different operational and functional teams to try to accelerate, create accountability, and create more agility, not in IT, but an entire organization.
Right. What about for you, Christy?
Yeah, we've seen some really positive things on the workforce, specifically in technology. We talked about low code, no code, how we can have, bots that help look at, just for example, our automated testing, and can say this success criteria isn't good, and maybe you can write it like this. We're seeing various things where we're deploying bots that are going out and saying, here's my table schema, and I'm going to write your SQL for you. So the workforce has been pretty excited about those things because it accelerates them, their mundane tasks, not things they really want to do, and then they get a focus on being creative or actually writing the business function. And we've been measuring that, and we see greater than 25% productivity just already from Gen AI. So I'd say in an IT world, the workers have been extremely happy to adopt the technology. From a business perspective, I think I was telling you guys, more than 70% of our transportation workers these days have less than 2 years. And this is really a complicated business. We're largely unionized. The agreements and all the rules go on for days. So just simple things of ingesting those agreements and being able to let a frontline supervisor go out and ask questions, right? Okay, if I give a late lunch to this crew person, what's that mean from a cost perspective? It's enabling them, and they're happy about it because they don't know, and it's driving value. So those are just a few examples that we've seen.
Right, good. Pierre?
From a workforce perspective, I think it's really important to highlight how this is going to help them and not eliminate their role. A lot of the work that's done, similar environment, right? Critical infrastructure, so lots of aging applications, lots of aging technology there that isn't easy for new people to navigate. So, if you can layer on some things that allows them to focus on their actual job as opposed to trying to find what they're looking for, it really engages the employees in doing that. And on the other side, I think, the data collaboration that we need in order to enable that true customer experience is something that we're going to continue to push because that's where the real value is. I think Sid said it, right? If we don't do it, the Googles and the Apples and everybody else is going to do it to us. So how do we create an environment where we can very easily share data back and forth?
Right. Sid, what are you seeing with your customers? And then I wanna close the panel by saying, when you look at your ecosystem of partners, and when Sid talks about what he's seeing in terms of the changes in the organizations that they work with, then I want to close the panel by getting one last perspective in terms of what does that mean with the ecosystem of partners that you have? Is that delivering the value? It really enabled you to accelerate the value creation, or you're having to do more yourself? So Sid, if you can share real quick that perspective, then we can get one more comment from the panelists.
I think not one person or one company can resolve the entire solution right now. I think it has to be a mix and match of everybody coming together towards a common goal. And the common goal ultimately for every customer that we work is, how do we change the end user experience for them? And the technology is now being made available to ultimately change it. It's on all of us. How do we use that technology to the greater use? Again, there's a very fine line between gathering data, using certain limits of getting into the privacy of that data, but at the same time not really going beyond the line where people start feeling, oh my God, there's too much data that is being used from it. So from a data perspective, I'm seeing that everybody has to come together to use that, but in a very secured environment where privacy is not taken for granted.
Yeah, I know we're running out of time, but partnerships, ecosystems, I think is essential in this, recognizing that we can't do it all ourselves, nor can one partner do it all themselves either. So we have to be very open, but you also need an architecture in place that's going to protect everything as you go forward.
Yes.
And all those vendors need to work together seamlessly, just like they're part of the company. I think that's key to success, because everyone has a niche.
And you're seeing that collaboration working effectively?
Oh, yes, we have to. We have no choice. So we don't collaborate and do work with each individual vendor. We do it all together. We all are in the same stand-ups, same status reporting. It's all the same.
Yes, and David.
Yeah, I think always we say or hearing that the CIO role needs to evolve. I would say the same for the partners. Partners, you need to evolve, because we still haven't seen the same discussion on prices. There are some good cases of collaboration, but honestly, when you talk about, I have Oracle, I have SAP, oh no, you don't have that one, I cannot deal with it. So you need to collaborate as well, you need to engage, and you need to as well get out of license, schemas, and try to be innovative in the way to engage with the business as well. So I challenge you guys, you need to be more creative in the way to evolve the partnership ecosystem as well. Right. And we are happy to help, but we need to work together as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That all comes together as part of the defining that digital operating model
Yes.
that really creates those lines of collaborations, not only from the technical perspective, but in the way of working.
Yeah.
I think that as most of you get into this transformation and optimizing your ecosystem of partnerships and accelerating the implementation of Gen AI or technologies, it's just critical to take a look at the overall digital strategy coming up from the business, and then building that ecosystem of partnership that can accelerate that value creation at scale, which is that critical, having the proper data governance and accountabilities across the value chain. So thank you, all of you, for being here, for being great clients, great friends, and all of you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.